We went to high school together. I knew about the Kickstarter. I bought into it. Early December, I called him. Said, hey, you gonna be home for Christmas? Love to hang out, maybe go snowboarding. Also, haven't got my t-shirt yet. And he was like, I'm actually glad you called. I need some help. Golden Age of DTC. That's when we got in. You feel like it's gonna last forever. iOS 14, COVID, post-COVID, a rush to retail, a rush out of retail. Now AI. Through each of those cycles, a lot of brands were shed. A lot of brands that were booming high revenue during those periods of time are no longer around. Understand that Agentic is coming, that AI is here. Within the Agentic world, if you catch rank, it's gonna come like wildfire. Do you have the inventory for that?
If you were starting Cuts again in today's AI world, would there be anything you'd do differently? Sean, incredibly excited to have you on the podcast today. I mean, we're in LA, just wrapped up at Grow. I would say one of the best conferences of the year. It's so good seeing everyone come together. So great to be filming on the back of that. I've been really excited for this podcast for a while. I mean, everyone knows Cuts. I think everyone has seen the explosion of the journey over time. Many people would think it's an overnight success in many ways, but I'm excited for you to talk to us today about the fact that it just truly wasn't. So many business cycles, so many changes to the business, so much growth, so many new products, and you obviously joined incredibly early as one of the first employees. For those who don't know you, why don't you give a quick introduction?
Yeah, first, thanks for the intro. Very excited to be here. So Sean Christman, COO at Cuts, hasn't always been that way, especially in the early days. So we've been around for 9 years. Really, it's been about 8 years that we've had a website, that we've been spending on Facebook, that we've actually been acquiring customers. But before that, Cuts started as a Kickstarter. Stephen Borelli started it, CEO, founder, still today. Started as a Kickstarter, fall of 2016. I was excited for him. We went to high school together. I knew about the Kickstarter. I bought into it.
You bought into it?
I bought into the Kickstarter.
Wow.
Yeah. So one of the first, not only one of the first employees, but one of the first couple hundred customers as well. And that was in the fall, and right around early December, I called him. Said, hey, you gonna be home for Christmas? Love to hang out, maybe go snowboarding. Also, haven't got my t-shirt yet. I haven't got my Kickstarter, what I bought in for. And he was like, I'm actually glad you called. At the time, I was working as a data analyst, data scientist at the Boeing company.
Okay.
So he knew I understood data, and it was, I need some help. Customer service. I need to find a manufacturer. I need to understand how we're going to cull this assortment. Now, Cuts launched with, I think it was 675 SKUs.
Wow.
It was a big deal, but that's what it was built on, was the shop by cut model, and almost this, made to order. Now we figured out, can't make it to order, can't offer everything, and so that assortment was culled almost immediately. But that's really how it started, was me wondering, being one of those first customers reaching out saying, hey, where's my t-shirt? Of course, we've had thousands of those since then. But yeah, started with customer service, got into email, got into the ops side, and we bootstrapped it 2.5 years before we ever went full time, and haven't looked back.
Wow. It's pretty rare you get the opportunity to have your finger in so many pies in the scaling journey, right? I guess you're probably onto the stage of doing the same thing multiple times now over the last couple of years as the brand has grown, right? Customer service would have changed so much, and your marketing engine would have changed so much. I reckon that's pretty exciting. What kind of phase are you in the business today, just so people understand kind of the scale you're at, team size? Are you based out of LA?
Yeah, based out of Los Angeles, and a lot is the same. Trying to acquire a customer that's going to be around for a while, right? Over the past 9-10 years, There's been so many different cycles in direct to consumer. Golden Age of DTC. That's when we got in.
It's no longer that anymore where you can just throw money at Meta, right? And
exactly, right? But while you're in these phases, you feel like it's going to last forever, up and to the right forever, right? iOS 14 having an impact on customer data and how you can, target the right customers changed. COVID, post-COVID, a rush to retail, a rush out of retail. Now AI, it's all cycles, right?
What cycle would you say we're in now?
I would say we are in a AI understanding cycle. At least that's what we're paying attention to a lot at Cuts. And a big part of that is, understanding in a e-commerce business, physical product business, there are the things you can pay attention to today and the things you need to pay attention to for a year from now, when that next product is going to launch, that one that's just in concept phase today. And so, in this phase where we're spending a lot of time, where we're, looking further out, is understanding how we can be ready for that adoption, AI adoption within brands. And so we're spending a lot of time looking at our assortment.
What's super top of mind right now? Is it personalization? Is it streamlining, operations? Is it warehouse? Like, where are you kind of thinking the biggest opportunity is at the moment?
Yeah, there's I think it's twofold. One is 1 foot in today. One is 1 foot in tomorrow. That 1 foot in today, what are the things you can do today? We're so used to optimizing the website for this human customer journey.
Right.
Great branded content, on-brand colors, the right messaging, what's going to pique somebody's interest and continue to get them to go down the funnel. Now you have this other shopper, right? Potentially an agent, coming and scraping information and feeding that back to a location that's maybe not on your website. And so what a lot of what we've focused on, or what we are focusing on, is paying attention to that consumer as well.
So what are your thoughts on the way shopping behaviors will change? Do you think that, it's going to be agents shopping for people? Do you think that it's more, your website has actually never been more important, in the sense that, updating product pages with, super accurate information, detailed information has never been more important, because the LLMs need to get context from somewhere. Do you think that agents will shop for you? It's
already happening.
Okay.
I think it's too early to tell how prevalent it will be. Where Cut sits in the market, we're not going to necessarily come up on the search for, I need 3 white t-shirts tomorrow for as cheap as you can get it, right? I think the barrier of entry for that consumer behavior is really trust. And where that trust comes from is the same place that trust comes from today. It's the experience matching the outcome. It is perception meeting reality. And that can be boiled down to exactly why customers return in the first place. What they get is not what they expected. So that's where that trust element comes in.
What do you think are the most overrated or overhyped things when it comes to AI right now?
I think that maybe what we were just touching on, to the furthest degree, agent to agent interaction and purchase being the most prevalent type of purchasing happening. I see that taking a while. Part of the reason is shopping is a personal experience. Shopping is a hobby. Shopping is exactly that. It's going from brand to brand and understanding who speaks to you the best as the consumer. So yes, on the bargain side, there's going to be a lot of that. It already exists in many ways with Amazon, right? You tell Alexa to order more of what I've already ordered. But in terms of brand discovery, things like that, I don't think we're there yet.
Right.
Or nearing it here in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months.
So where are you using AI right now?
A lot of it's on the back end. A lot of operational things.
Okay.
So a lot of workflows. Obviously, a big part of working with AI is making sure you have structured data the right way, that you can ask the right questions. So it is, understanding our data warehouse, understanding and validating a lot of our data sources, just to be able to set it up so that we can use LLMs internally to act as a junior level analyst or a associate.
You mentioned the business going through multiple cycles kind of over your time with Cuts since the very early days to the scale you are today, right? Compared to the very, very early days to now, what would you say is different? What broke? What changed?
I would say it's our focus and our understanding of what how each function works together. Through each of those cycles, a lot of brands were shed. A lot of brands that were booming high revenue during those periods of time are no longer around. It wasn't because the market kicked them out. It was because they didn't have great fundamentals. So where do we focus a ton today? It's on the back of house things. The back of house things that enable the exceptional marketing that we do to be exceptional.
And what metrics are these that you're focusing on?
Cash flow. Right. And inventory. So they're not novel ideas, but understanding how they enable marketing to be that great marketing lever.
Dead stock is dangerous, and we need money coming in, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. The brands with cash, when there's an opportunity, a competitor goes dark, a new channel pops off, a new and emerging placement is available.
If you were starting Cuts again in today's AI world, would there be anything you'd do differently?
I think that's a difficult question. Simply
hindsight
because
is a good thing.
Hindsight is
crystal
a
ball
fantastic
question.
thing,
Yeah.
Right. But the reason I say it that way is because we're constantly understanding how we reinvent ourselves, and that has been a pillar of I talk about 9 years like it's a long time. It feels like a long time. And in D2C, it is a relatively long time. But that's what has allowed us to stay around, stay relevant, continue to grow, is that constant reinvention, understand asymmetric risks, understand, and that foundation of what happens if this isn't as big of an opportunity. Are we over our skis? Paying attention to all of that is what we do today. So if we were restarting, that's where I would start.
I guess at the very kind of first phase of Cuts, you would have benefited of the wave of, as I said before, throw money at Meta. Throw $1 at Meta and you probably get $5 back. It was so lucrative. Tracking across browsers was so easy, so they were able to retarget everyone. Their privacy laws were different. So it was just different world, right? Yeah. How are you thinking today with cost of acquiring a customer? We obviously talk a lot about retention on this podcast. Cost of acquiring a customer in the first place is exploding. How do you balance the thought between acquiring a new customer versus a returning customer in today's world?
Our business is built on returning customers. That's what allows us the ability to go acquire more. So we're paying attention very closely to that LTV to CAC, understanding that payback period. Two metrics that we pay close attention to, understanding the time horizon and that payback period, is ultimately what allows us to feel confident in making that next ad, spending that next dollar, and acquiring that next customer. And really it is the governor on growth. So it is the ultimate end all ruler of everything else you've done up to that point. Is it worth anything? Let's go see, throw it into the market, and it'll tell you.
What are your thoughts on the constant discounting cycle? A lot of brands, to get returning customers, they're just constantly discounting. And so their customer base just becomes so obsessed with discounts.
Yeah.
Some brands argue that that's the best decision they've ever made.
Yeah.
Others will say, it's the worst possible thing you could do. Where do you fall on that?
Yeah, I think it can be labeled as another one of those cycles,
Right.
right? We live in a fair market where the consumer has a lot more say than they maybe understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so, where we used to be incredibly brand sensitive, understanding our external appearance to the consumer, and whether discount conscious and sale conscious. Not that has completely reverted, but understanding each cohort and the growth of each of those cohorts and the retention of each of those cohorts can allow you to make better decisions with how much you discount, when you discount, and who are you actually acquiring when you do discount. Is it a poor customer, a decent customer, or a lifelong one?
What would you say are the biggest mistakes brands make today in the transition between cycles? Is it just falling behind? Is it, the same, keeping the mindset of the last cycle in today's cycle? And how do you get your team to focus on today's opportunity? I think a lot of new brands overtake old because they don't have all of the historical complexity that exists. They don't have all of the historical processes and thought process and, data and metrics and, huge teams that a new business has that just comes in and just one-shots the entire vertical, right? How do you make sure your team moves so quickly?
Totally. There's everybody to varying degrees wants to feel comfortable. And doing what you know best allows you to feel comfortable.
And you kind of get there after hard work, right? It's
totally.
We finally feel like we're there.
We figured it out.
Yeah. And then bang, done.
Right.
Yep.
And so you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Constantly, like I was saying, reinvent yourself and put yourself in the mindset of that incumbent or that emerging brand with you as the incumbent before the emerging brand comes. Mm-hmm. And so it is understanding that each of these cycles has a lifespan, that the opportunity is ultimately going to get priced, and ensuring that you're doing the research, understanding the market, and staying one step ahead. So, the way that we look at that is, let's say from an ad standpoint or a product standpoint, is 80-20. So we're living in that 80, that opportunity space. Mm-hmm. This is working. Let's double down. Let's continue with this. But taking that 20%, whether it's product assortment, whether it's inventory stack, whether it's test allocation for a new channel or ads within an existing channel, is always trying to find that next thing before that next thing finds us.
As a leader, how do you break the barrier of, in today's world? I mean, it's kind of a little scary, right? Like people are wondering what their job will look like in 12, 24 months time. Like the horizon is no longer, where do you want to be in 5 or 10 years time? It's like, what are you doing in 12 or 24 months time, really? How do you break through the barrier of doing the right thing for the business versus job justification, which is a harsh thing to say for an IC marketing manager, for example, but their job will just simply be different. I don't think that they will become, there's definitely not a world where they become null and void. Their job will just simply change. Similar to how, 10 years ago, everyone would put Microsoft Word on their CV as a skill. Now it's like, okay, everybody's just expected that of course you know how to use that. And in fact, everyone just uses Google Docs, right? Yeah. How do you kind of fight the barrier of job justification?
Yeah, I think AI is here and AI is here to stay. And we can use it as a tool or we can be scared of it, right? What we communicate and what we advocate for internally is everybody to be AI native. Understand it. What are the new tools? $20 a month? Let's go try it, right? How do we incorporate this into our roles so that we can do more? There is, I forget where I heard it, but the juxtaposition of are there more things, are there things that you want to do, or are there more things that you want to do less of, or are there more things that you want to do more? And we're in the business of growth. We're looking to grow, right? And so how do we leverage AI to go do more? Manage headcount, double revenue, stay the same headcount, right? I think that is an internal goal of ours. or as close to that as we can, right? It's a good benchmark.
And do you think that the team's pretty motivated by that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's I think there's a level playing field in this, right? There isn't a ton of experience. There aren't brands that have been in e-commerce that have been utilizing it for more than a couple of years, like we have. And so it is a, pivot point of who can harness it, who can utilize it internally and externally as best as possible, and in a race to that opportunity.
Something I thought was interesting right before this podcast you said was you kind of see your role in a sense, and I might not word this properly, as a support function to every other team in the business, whether it be marketing, logistics, or the warehouse, whatever. Talk to us a little more about your thought process behind that. This support function type thinking. Yeah.
So the way that I think is every function in the business is a support function for marketing and for content. How do we go create more compelling stories, better brand stories, work with better people? That's the role of the rest of the business, is to go create more marketing, more content for that marketing. So what do I oversee? I'm more or less the liaison between product and marketing. Right. I'm a planning guy, trying to make sure that everything leading up to go-to-market supports that go-to-market. And all of the information that I get, yes, there's some from the market, there's a ton of research we do, there's competitor analysis, but we go to marketing. Hey, what's working? What's working now? How long do we see this working for? What's the next thing that we think we can use?
And you build products based on what's working.
Oh, yeah. So it becomes a growth loop that allows this perpetual growth of channel, growth of category. All really starts, the nucleus of that is marketing, which is, our consumer, whether they've converted from us or not. That's where we're getting our answers from.
And what does that look like actually bringing it to life on the day-to-day?
So everybody internal speaks marketing.
Right.
They all understand the KPIs, the
That's
daily
an expectation.
Metrics. That's an expectation internally. And it's a, for some it's a learned process, but get you up to speed on the real-time data. What is the feedback, the millions of data points, impressions that we're getting on each of our marketing channels, and then the tens of thousands of orders that we're getting on a monthly basis? What is that telling us? And how do we feed that back as far as we can? So take that information. How do we do a better job tomorrow? That's website. That's advertising. That's content. How do we do a better job in 3 months? That's buying. That's planning. That's inventory management. How do we do a better job 6 months out, 12 months out? That's out into product. And that feedback loop continues quarter over quarter, season over season.
And what are your biggest channels of marketing today? Is it still Meta?
Still Meta.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. It's been the bell cow from the beginning and still is today. Now, how we go about sourcing content, how much of that is internal versus external, and the amount of channels that we're marketing on has grown over the years. But yeah, Meta's still the bell cow for us.
You spoke on stage today at Grow about this idea of agentic commerce. Talk to us a little, give us kind of the brief summary of that.
Yeah, I was on the panel kind of as the brand that is gearing up for this moment. We talked a little bit about, how skeptical am I? How skeptical are we? When is this real wave coming? And the idea is we don't know, but we want to be ready for it. And so talked about 1 foot in, 1 foot out of focusing on setting that up today. It's a data exercise. That's a metadata exercise, making sure your website is equipped, that you are, able to come up on LLMs as much as possible.
Are you using any tools to help you with this, or?
We're getting into that for sure. Layers that allow us to understand what LLMs are what searches we're getting pulled into, how many of those searches we're getting pulled into, and which direction that is going. It's a upward trend. I'm not going to say it's massive. We're not showing up as ranked number 1 yet, but there's it is.
You don't want to be
occurring.
behind by the time it's important.
Completely.
I think so. I think search is becoming really, really important. In the world of AI. I don't know if you necessarily need a tool. Like, I think it's going to become an expected skill set internally of the marketing team. How do you think I mean, you mentioned returning customers is really important. We talk about retention a lot, obviously. How do you think about retention in an AI world? Is it like the possibility of personalization? What's kind of top of mind for you there?
Yeah, I think it takes retention a level deeper, right? For a consumer to be retained, in my eyes, is expectations got to exceed reality, right? To not get a return, expectation has to meet reality. What they bought is what they get. But how do you create that ecosystem of loyalty, right? Especially for us in a highly commoditized space, in a very subjective space, apparel, right? Both wearing similar outfits, completely different brands. Neither of them have a logo on them, right? And so that aspect of personalization only long tails into how do we make that overall experience better? On-site is one of those things. How do you personalize that? Make sure that they understand, yes, they know who I am. Liam is back on our site. Let's make sure we show him the things that he cares about first, right? And a couple of tangential new things that we think he'd be interested in. But it really is that full funnel and that personal, unboxing experience that...
Do you think email and SMS will remain important?
Certainly, yeah. I think the channel might change a little. I think the channel will get better through change, and I think we're already seeing some of that. There is some of that functionality today that allows you to be much more personal. When we started, personal was, hey, Liam, last name. Yeah. Right. It was.
Yeah, that's what personalization meant. Right. Well, what does personalization mean today, do you think?
I think it's being able to work your way into their lives more effectively, right? Understand the individual cycle of shopping. We have, when we pay attention to these, we always have the repeat rate or the returning customer rate. How long until, on average, somebody comes back for that second purchase? On average, for that third purchase? On average, what do they buy in that second purchase relative to the first? The third relative to the second?
Are you doing anything today if they leave your website and don't purchase?
From a standard sense, yes, we're doing all of those. We have all of those gaps filled. I think where that personalization, that retention gets even better is where it's not aggregated. Right? Where those flows aren't as standard, where it can become a personalized experience. Yes, this is fantastic. Seeing this, how did they know? Right? Well, each of their actions with regards to the emails that they have, the emails that they've opened or clicked, the SMSs that they've left unread or opened or clicked, responded to, etc. All of that information is there. Harnessing it, using it, is ultimately going to build that personalization, that retention even more.
How do you think that overall the customer journey of a shopper in the world of agentic commerce will ultimately change? And let's put a timeline, because that's an infinite question. Let's say over the next 12 months.
I think over the next 12 months, you'll start to see much more than just your cart still being full when you get back. Hey, we haven't emptied your cart. You got 3 days before we do. The page that you fall on, the products that you're shown, whether it says, hey, welcome back, Sean, or welcome back, Liam, will start to be representative of your experience on that site last time. So I think that funnel will just shorten a little bit.
Do you think that your website will maintain its importance? A lot, you talk to some brands and like, no, only purchases are only going to be made through ChatGPT, and then you see that just got pulled recently.
Yeah.
And then other brands are like, no, our website is the most important thing. That's where LLMs get their context. I want to control the experience. Kind of the same, cycle everyone went through with Amazon. Do I put my products on Amazon, or do I just own the experience myself? And a lot of brands ended up just owning the experience themselves if they want to build a real brand.
Yeah.
Well, what's your thoughts on that?
I can't wait to come back to this in a year and see how smart or how dumb I look today. But I see agentic commerce as more of another channel, right? Yes, that similar to, the Shop app or TikTok shops, or now Instagram shops. Not all checkouts will be done through the website, but that website experience will just continue to increase. What else is housed there? Your product catalog is there. What other brand information? What else do you want to feed into that LLM to, as they understand who they're shopping for, provide them with more context to rank you higher? And then once they get to the website, there's a reason they made it that far. So what else are you going to show them? What else can you lend to that experience that they are there?
To finish on this note, what do you think, you work with a lot of brands in your fractional work as well as having the experience at Cuts. What do you think are the top 3 things for a brand to absolutely be getting right now, today?
I think the 3 things, back to that 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Understand that agentic is coming, that AI is here. So do more than the bare minimum to make sure you're ready for that. From a brand standpoint, creating physical things with that in mind, it's in the things that we're focused on at Cuts, are understanding your assortment. How wide do you need to go? Because with inventory, with stock, within the agentic world, if you catch rank, it's going to come like wildfire.
Yeah. Do
you have the inventory for that? And today, if you run out of stock, you have to turn off that Facebook ad. It's frustrating. But if it becomes a ranking issue, now in this agentic world. And what else I would say is learn as much as possible. Understand that 12 months from now, we don't know what we're talking about, right? No. It is going to be different. It is a cycle, like we've talked about. And learn as much as possible. Get over yourself and enter into this new era with an open mind.
Well, I'm excited to have you back on the podcast in 12 months. Let's see how either smart or dumb we both look, right? I think absolutely have to go with the tide. I think another big thing is you really need to make sure as a brand you're working with the right agencies and the right advisors, and you have the right people around you. A lot of people are stuck in their ways. You really need to be working with agencies and partners and advisors and a team that is just obsessed with experimenting, like you said, with AI. I mean, it's here. It's not going anywhere. Yeah. It's becoming better and better. And I mean, I would truly fear not AI. I'd fear the person that's better than you at it, right? Sean, great to have you on the podcast. Thanks so much for sharing your journey, and looking forward to catching up soon.
Thanks for having me. Let's do it again.